Well, good Monday morning, everybody. It is November 22nd, 2021, which means it is my birthday today. Happy birthday to me. And having made it to 62 years on this earth, I can honestly tell you I did not think I would get here. I can remember being a youngster and looking at the calendar and thinking year 2000, when I will turn 40, oh my gosh, I'll never live that long. So little did I know that I'd still be here, kicking along. So today we are going to finish up the 11th chapter of John's Gospel. We're going to be taking a peek at verses 45 to 57. Jesus has raised Lazarus from the dead, and now we're going to deal with the fallout among the leaders because of this seventh miracle, this seventh and final miracle. Jesus' miracles are kind of end capped with the changing water to wine and raising the dead. Not sure if there's any logic or any reason for that, or there's any meaning from that, but that's what it is in John's Gospel anyway. So let's take a look at verses 45 to 57 in the 11th chapter of John's Gospel. Many of the Jews, therefore, who had come with Mary and had seen what Jesus did, believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what he had done. So the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the council and said, "What are we to do? This man is performing many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and the Romans will come and destroy both our holy place and our nation." But one of them, Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, said to them, "You know nothing at all. You do not understand that it is better for you to have one man die for the people than to have the whole nation destroyed." He did not say this on his own, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus was about to die for the nation, and not for the nation only, but to gather into one the dispersed children of God. So from that day on, they planned to put him to death. Jesus therefore no longer walked about openly among the Jews, but went from there to a town called Ephraim in the region near the wilderness, and he remained there with the disciples. Now the Passover of the Jews was near, and many went up from the country to Jerusalem before the Passover to purify themselves. They were looking for Jesus and were asking one another as they stood in the temple, "What do you think? Surely he will not come to the festival, will he?" Now the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that anyone who knew where Jesus was should let them know so they might arrest him. Okay, Jesus has just done this incredible miracle of bringing back a man dead for 4 days when they were certain that the body was putrid. And don't open the grave, remember, the sisters said. He's going to be stinky, as they might say. But Jesus, have faith, open the grave, roll back the stone, and calls out Lazarus, and he walks out of the tomb. Of course, a foreshadowing of the resurrection of Christ himself. But here we have the leaders. They're so concerned about the status quo. They don't understand that indeed the temple is going to be destroyed, but it's not destroyed because of Jesus, though the early Christians believed it was because of this, the Jews' persecution of Jesus and arrest and turning him over to the Romans to be martyred. They believed that was why the temple was destroyed. Others believed it was destroyed because of the martyrdom of James, though. But really, it's about the Maccabees. It's about the uprising, okay, that comes and culminates in the year 70 when the temple's destroyed. They rose up, so they couldn't stop this movement. These movements among the Jewish people. That wasn't the Maccabees weren't followers of Christ. So that is why the temple was destroyed. They knew that the political tensions were high and that the Romans were watching them, and the Roman way of doing things was to crush any dissent. So they were afraid. They are afraid of any kind of change, whether that be change for the better. Had they embraced Christ at this point and recognized him for who he was, the good Lord only knows what would have happened. They were not willing to even accept change for the better. And I think that we can talk about we can cast aspersions upon these Jewish leaders all we want, but when we do, we should also remember that those aspersions are being cast upon ourselves, because we too are deathly afraid of change, even change for the better. Scares us to death, whether that be in our personal lives, in our church life, what have you, our business life, All of these things, changes scare us to death. And we're reluctant to accept them. And we have to have faith that had they embraced Christ at that time, the temple might still be here. We don't know. I would guess it would be. I would guess that things would have been quite different for all of us. We might not have ever had the Holocaust, for crying out loud. It's hard to know. It's impossible to know these things. But it wasn't God's plan, of course, to have those things happen. The cross was in God's plans. But here they just couldn't reach out and accept that change, that acceptance of Christ as the Lord and Savior, the acceptance that God so loved the world that he sent his Son into the world to save us. They couldn't latch onto that. And so they were looking ways to stop what they thought was his progression. But as it is with change, we can't stop change. We can forestall it sometimes. We can muddle things up. But even our acts to stop change changes things. So I think it would be far better for all of us if we embrace change for the better. If we acknowledge that life is a change. I realize that in my 62nd year, almost said 72nd, 62nd year of life. I can look back just a few years back, and there's quite a change in me, physically and emotionally, spiritually, all of those things, especially physically. And those things are not necessarily changes we want, but those are inevitable changes in life. Life is a change. So I'm going to leave you with that. Tomorrow we'll dive into chapter 12 and see what John's gospel has for us in chapter 12. Have a very blessed day. Enjoy it. Celebrate. It's my birthday, for crying out loud. Everybody should celebrate. It should be a national holiday. God bless and be a blessing to someone today. Bye-bye.